Buenas noches, everyone. Good evening. This is another episode of the Brown Experience with your host, Brown96. And today we're going to be discussing um, financial security versus financial struggles, financial insecurities, as we see so much in brown and black communities. So I'm going to get some people in here real quick. What's up, Flo? So let me get this started. Let's see. Let's start. Oh, what's up, man?
What's up,
I
brother?
can't see you right now. I'm trying to like invite people, but hey, I was trying to invite over what's his name? The Chicano marketer. I don't know. He's been
Oh, okay.
MIA. I haven't been able to reach him, but what's it called? I don't know if you talked to him as of recently.
I've had a short like interaction with him, but
Okay.
none too
So what's
detailed.
up, man?
Yeah, I know his own thing. He's not really active on
Yeah.
social media like he used to be, but you know. But this topic definitely interests me. As soon as I saw it,
Yeah,
I got to
man.
jump on this one and talk
I have a
about it.
lot of
I have a lot to say.
interesting questions, bro. Uh, so
Sure.
let me see if I can get it's the Yvette on here. I know she mentioned she was good, but she was on the live earlier. I don't know if she's gonna be able to join right now. Cuba, what's up, man? Hey, you want to join the live, Carnal?
Yeah, yeah, get him on there too.
Yeah,
Shutter, man. We were actually just talking here before you got on. I think his perspective would be
he
good
is
too
an
because that dude is
entrepreneur.
a
Yeah, I know
businessman.
that. Yeah. Let me
So
see if he jumps on.
so
Well, we'll get started. That way we can at least have two people point of view. But yeah, man. But this is a topic, bro, that a lot of people have have been coming across as of lately because of COVID and all that. Businesses shut down and things like that. So, and the people that have been wanting to start up a business uh, have a hard time, like myself, bro. Like, I am, I'm terrible with finances, bro. Like I'm terrible, bro. Like I can't. What's it called? I just can't keep money safe, bro. You know what I mean? Somehow, some way, it's a me va. You know what I mean? But like my wife is more of my balance, right? So she kind of like you know what I mean? She's that person. But and I think it all stems back from like ¿cómo se llama? The fact that we're first generation and like our folks no sabían, they were like on survival mode, ¿verdad? So
yeah,
like it wasn't much for teaching about that because they were themselves struggling through it. Sí, pero
yes.
you know what? Let's just get started, carnal. But like the first thing, bro, that I want to ask you, you know what, is what do finances typically look like in brown communities? In the sense of
In what
like,
sense?
you know, do they understand? Do they understand what they're doing with their money? Do they understand that there's a such thing as like savings account? There's like they can put it like investing and all that stuff like knowledgeably like how are people in black communities like doing with finances typically?
I think to answer the question, going back to what you said earlier about you being first generation, right? Most of our parents come here just to get away from whatever lifestyle they had back,
Mm.
back in the day, right? Or back in their place of living, whatever. So
Hmm.
obviously everybody's different, right? I can only speak from my experience and the way my parents did it. My dad came here when he was
Mm.
17. He came here by himself. His goal was to make money, enough money to build himself a home over there, probably like a lot of immigrants or a lot of migrants, whatever you want to call them. Make enough money to send to the parents and then make yourself a house over there, and live over
Yeah.
there. I mean, we have a house in Mexico. My dad's plan was to do that. right? And then even when we were born here in the States, he still had aspirations to go back and raise us. But obviously, as we got older, he's like, "What the hell am I going to do that for? My
Mm-hmm.
kids are American citizens, and what am I? Why am I going to take them back over there so they can come back over here with no English and basically do what I did, right?" So he had a change of mind. But my dad has always been good with money, right? I mean, he hasn't always made the most money, right? But my dad started off as a dishwasher at 17 years old, back when they were paying him like $2 an hour. This is back in, right? But my dad has always been very ambitious, and he knew he wasn't going to stay there. He wasn't going to stay in that position. So he chose to, what's up, Ranty? He chose to learn, right? So the next step for him was making cookies, right? Because he worked at a bakery, and he learned how to do that, and then he learned how to bake cakes. Right? He's always had this mindset of moving up, right, and not taking not being afraid to take risks when it came to progressing his I guess career or his work. But obviously, being the only worker in the household, because my mom didn't work, she stayed at home. He kind of had no choice. You know? I mean, there was four of us. At one point there was three.
Everybody.
But eventually four. So, uh, and then so but all those skills though, he taught me how to budget money at 5 years old. And why do I say that is because my dad gave me at 5 years old, and he was like, "Look, this is your money, right?" And he would have me stretch that money for 2 weeks every time he got paid. He said, "You can do whatever you want with this money," and I'm glad he did that because up until this day, right, the way I manage my money goes back to when I was five, and right, and because of those decisions and because of that, I've been able to climb up the economic ladder because of his decisions, because of all his wisdom with whatever he had with finances, right? But with that being said, I didn't see that reflect in my community. All right, I didn't see that with other people in my community, and I think it goes back to what you said is that people come here to survive, and then if you're working all day, and again, I'm living in a now predominantly Chinese neighborhood, Asian neighborhood, right? The stark differences that I see now is that when I was in the barrio, right? What do you hear on weekends? The parties, right? The pachangas, right? The quinceañeras, right? So somebody's spending money, right? And here you don't hear any of that stuff. But these people have money. They're also immigrants, right? So I think a lot of it has to do with priorities. A lot of it has to do with lifestyle, culture, right? So like I said, first gen, right? I was very privileged to have that experience. But again, reflect the community, I say, because most of us don't have that kind of money or don't know how to manage it, like you said. So I would say that to answer the question is that uh, for the most part, Raza is financially illiterate. You know,
What's up, Ramos? What's up, man? How you doing?
What's
Buenas
up?
noches.
I'm here in the dark. How you caught me out here in my porch?
That's what's up, man. Um, for you, carnal, like, what do you think? How does finances look like in the barrios? Like, being able to budget, being able to like, doing all that. I mean, how does it look like typically in the barrios, bro?
Well, shit. Even for me, that I was born here, it's difficult, man. I've never been able to really be able to dig myself out of the hole of debt. I've never been able to save any money, and with my wife's family, they were really good at that. They're really good at saving and stuff like that. But the difference is, they didn't have credit cards. They didn't drive, so they didn't have a car payment and stuff like that. So I think having all that stuff that you get when you're born here or when you come here and you adapt to what's around you, and you start getting things that everyone else has because you need them in order to, it makes it easier having a car. You know what I mean? And having credit cards, sometimes they help you out, man. And even for me, it's really, really difficult. Right now, I have a little bit of a cushion, but because I work two jobs, but it shouldn't be like that because I had the opportunity to educate myself, but I chose not to educate myself. You know what I mean? And that's my fault. I don't blame that on nobody. At the same time, I always say, even at my age, old age of 42, going on 43, I can still go to school and better myself and make money. You know what I mean? It's up to me. You know what I mean? But instead, I'm over here working 2 jobs when I shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? So in order to have money saved up, and that's how I can save money. But you're not really taught that as a kid, at least not in my household, about saving money. No one ever told me that. They said, oh, ahora tu dinero, but not really like a structured way. They would just tell you to do it, but you wouldn't know how to do it. You know what I mean? And nobody taught them, you know what I mean? Because everyone's impoverished. So like, how do you save money if you never have money? You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I saw in my household. We never had money. You know what I mean? We're poor. I would see kids eating, fast food during the week, and I'd be like, fuck, it must be nice, because I would eat fast food on the weekends only. And fast forward to now, my kids, they can eat fast food whenever they want to, but at the same time, I took that away. I limit that because I want them to have better habits. So I said, you know what, we're going to cook during the week, and on the weekends, we'll eat out. We'll eat something good, you know what I mean? So, and that has helped me to save money, by cutting little things out.
Yeah, man, I feel that. So now you know what? There's like gente in the barrios that go and like work and take their kids. Like back in the day, gente used to take their kids to the fields and trabajaban duro. You know what I mean? So, and nowadays, there's some parts that still kind of carries that, right? Like parents still, they take them to the pulgas, right? They take their kids to the pulgas. They get them, interacting with the gente. They get to selling stuff to people, right? So they're learning how to make that money, right?
Yeah.
What it takes and the hard work and stuff. So they're learning, there's still that part of how we used to be for raza, right? But now this question though, is being poor a choice? Go ahead, Flo.
I think that's a very good question. Obviously, you don't control how you're born. I mean, you don't control their circumstances that you put up here, right? Like I said, I mean, my parents came from Mexico, like probably a lot of people on here on the live. But I date back to my great grandmother who's still alive. She's over 100 now. She's like 101. The poor woman never got to learn how to read, right? She lived in an hacienda. This is back when we still had haciendas in Mexico, right? And to see that, right, again, to my generation, just in a couple generations, the progress, right, is to me is a beautiful thing because to go from basically almost slave status, right, and hacienda is like, what else are you doing in there, right? I'm not the wealthiest guy in the world. I'm not saying that, but I mean, I'm not in a hole. I'm not like, oh man, I need to get help from my parents, or I'm in debt, or I have my like my credit card debts here and there, but not to the point where like, oh my god, I can't afford these things, right? So I think choices can keep us in poverty, right? And again, if we're not taught these things by our parents, then then either we have to go out and seek them ourselves, or we get lucky and get mentors who help us out. But at the same time, the system that we live under is not designed for you to be rich, unless you choose entrepreneurship, because working ain't gonna get you rich, and that's the thing that a lot of people, even going to school is not gonna get you rich. I mean, I have my degree, right? And that's another false misconception that I don't know if you got this, Brown, when you were a kid. I mean, it's like, hey, go get your BA, you're gonna get your money, you're gonna get your house, right? That was always told to me, right, when I was a kid. But you're still a worker, right? So the only way to get rich in this country is to, one, either not have a family, right? And Rasta is very family oriented, so that's why a lot of us are not up there. Or two, completely neglected, because a lot of these business owners or CEOs, they that's their life. Their life is their businesses, it's their companies. And that's why a lot of white people, you see them up there because they don't even give a shit about their own families, right? And this is why it trips me out when people say, why doesn't white people care about us? Why don't they, take this into consideration? They don't give a shit about their own families. Why would they care about us, right? So to answer the question, it is and it's not. I think it's very cultural, and I think we choose what we want, right? I mean, I chose a degree. I chose to go into education and work with youth. That's what makes me happy, right? I would not be happy as it is, even with the position I have now, right? Me being in a management position, right, where I'm at now, it's already, I'm already seeing some of the effects of neglecting some of the family stuff because I come home so tired, bro. Like I can't be at the appointments anymore because I can't call out as often as I used to, right? I need to be at meetings. So even that little step, right, shows that, okay, if I want to keep going up the ladder, I'm going to have to completely destroy my family. So, it is, I think it is and it's not. It depends on your priorities, I would say.
Yeah, go ahead, Ramos. So the question was, is being poor a choice, carnal?
You know what? I think in this country, yes, it is, man. In this country, yes, it is, man. Because there's, even though there's racism and if you don't have papeles, it's hard. But hey, man, there's people that in the corners that don't have papeles and they start up their own little pop up. You know what I mean? They save a little feather that they have. And they start up pop ups. They end up becoming homeowners and stuff like that. So it's a choice, man. I always compare myself to that, where like I had all this opportunity. I was born here. I spoke the language. I'm a very intelligent person, but for some reason, I just, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. You know what I mean? I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do, and I think it is a choice. It's my choice to be poor. It is, even though I'm working two jobs. It's your choice, man. Because that I always look back to that. How can somebody, like what the white people say, oh, the Mexicans take our jobs. Okay, so this fool that came from Mexico doesn't speak the language, doesn't have papers, doesn't have a car. This fool can take your job. Hey, dog, you know what I mean? Like, that I always look at it like that. This fool can take your job, and then eventually, let's say they start off as dishwasher. Eventually, they end up being like the chefs. So, I think.
Yeah, man. No, yeah, I feel that, man. There's, we go through this phase. I feel that we start blaming people, right? Society, the system, this and that, right?
Yeah.
There's something in our way. Someone's trying to make sure that my community is, doesn't succeed or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
We see, every corner has a liquor store and a bunch of fast food restaurants. So it's like, it seems like the government or whatever, whoever it is that you're blaming, it's so easy to blame others because of our surroundings and the fact that we're so ignorant, right?
Yeah.
Not know how to get out of our hole, right? So another question here: is there any actual barriers that literally keeps us from succeeding, like laws? Is there? I know there are certain laws that cater to more of the investor, right? But is there something that we can say, aha, there is something that's keeping me down? Go ahead, Flo.
I would say that historically, yes, right. There were things that would keep us down and didn't allow us to move up the economic ladder. But I would say that in 2023, at least from a legal standpoint, there really isn't any of those things, right? I think the issues we face today are more cultural and more classist than racism, right? Because those are very blatant. You were able to see, you had signs or whatever, right? But I think today there are more cultural barriers, I would say, right? Things within our own culture that, or not even just our own culture, but the culture of where we live. And what I mean by culture is the habits, the traditions, the ways of thinking that people have in your surrounding area. So like you said, if you live in Nevada, right, and you see the gangs and you see the just the poverty all around you, I mean, that's going to be your influence. It's not necessarily a barrier, it's an obstacle, obviously, because you don't know any better unless you go out and seek it. And with that, I would say, it's I think a personality trait. If you're not a curious person, you're not going to seek other things. You're going to stick around and be comfortable with drinking with the homies or just staying around and just having a regular 9 to 5, whatever. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, but if you don't seek other things, again, it's not to say that it's gonna be easy, and no, I mean, again, our circumstances determine some extent, you know, how we start, and at the end of the day, our curiosity and our willingness to step out of that is what determines, I think, how far we get. So as far as barriers or laws or anything like that, I say no. I think it's more obstacles or things in the culture around us.
Yeah, go ahead, Ramos. So the question was, is there actual blocks that are like set in place to keep us from succeeding financially?
I don't think so, man, because I've never encountered them. You know what? I've never felt like I was discriminated or I'm missing something or like white people, have what are they called? Uh, the new word that's been that privilege, that they're privileged. Have never felt that they were more privileged than me. You know what I mean? Because I felt that I never felt that I couldn't achieve what they could achieve, and I never felt that there was somebody putting up barriers. If anything, it was my own people. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I used to speak like properly, right? Because I would read a lot too, and I was really into school in the beginning, and I would speak properly. And they're like, "Hey, dog, why do you gotta say it like that, fool?" Because I'd be like, "Hey, you know what? My family's having financial problems, right? Like, hey, why do you gotta say it like that? Why don't you just say that you don't have money?" I'm like, because it's a lot easier to say financial problems than all these other words that you were using to explain it, right? And so it's mainly your homies like, oh, look at this fool, he's smart, he's he's a nerd and shit. I mean, that never stopped me from learning, because I've never cared about what people have to say about me, but I would see it in other kids. You know what I mean? The peer pressure, and they see, it's like they see somebody coming up, and they don't want that fool to leave. They want to be there with them. In most cases. But as far as like, no, I don't think there's any barriers, man. Because if anything, dude, if you think about it, you know how they came up with those laws where se llama, ¿cómo se llama? Like let's say there's too many white people, they have to hire like a Mexican or a black person. Affirmative action, right? We have that, right? Y luego también like what sucks is that white people and Asians, since I guess because they're not considered minorities, they don't offer like these becas and stuff like that, or even opportunities to enter the college, because they have to allow someone of color. I think that sucks. You know what I mean? And if anything, there's more opportunities like scholarships for us and stuff like that, if you take advantage of them. You know what I mean? White people don't have that. You know what I mean? They probably have one on sports or whatever, but as far as just for being a minority, those are actually we're actually getting hooked up by them giving that to us. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I feel that. Uh, in terms of like, you know, I guess you could say gambling with your finances. As I know we've all heard it takes money to make money, but to me at least, and I'm sure there's others that can relate, in traditional household where you grew up with, first generation Chicano, it was looked down upon to gamble your money as an investment, right? And because of that, you stay in a certain comfort zone, right? So the question is, should we encourage more of this gambling type of investment for ourselves? Because, I mean, if you think about it, our parents that came from Mexico, they gambled with their current situations, right? They gambled with maybe getting deported back, paying fees, uh, this strange new environment that they're coming into, this new world that they're coming. It's a gamble, right? You don't know where if you're gonna get a job, a consistent job, or if you're gonna make it in society, right? So it's a gamble. But for some reason, they gambled, but they discouraged the gambling for us to figure things out for our investment, right? How do you feel about that, Flo?
The question is,
Yeah, I
how do
mean,
I feel about gambling?
should we encourage more of this investing, which is kind of a gamble because you can lose, you can win, right? So it's a gamble. So I mean, should we encourage it more in brown communities?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I do it with sports. That's one way I literally. Uh, but I mean, there's other ways. I think you have to find. Again, this goes back to financial literacy. You have to find things to invest in, because putting it in the bank, even if you save money in the bank, it's not going to grow, right? If you if you buy the obviously the easiest way, but also the hardest way is to buy property, because I mean that's really where the wealth is at. It's not even in actual things. It's like actual land, right? But I mean that's harder today, and it's becoming more. But a very good point that you brought up is that our parents gamble to come here, but then that it's almost like they don't necessarily encourage that in children. It's okay, just kind of stay out of trouble. And I mean, I think because a lot of them are immigrants and don't want to get deported, or they just don't want to piss off the government. Raza likes to fly under the radar, I would say, right? I think that's a cultural norm within our people. It's like just kind of be under the radar, don't get too noticed, don't get too loud, and that kind of discourages gambling. So let's say that we don't put ourselves out there when it comes to networking, when it comes to what I will say is this though, and I have seen this in a lot in the women in our community, or women gamble today because of the way they were raised. A lot of them were raised in very traditional households where probably the moms were the ones catering to the dad, and a lot of them don't want to have that same experience, so they end up taking more chances, right? They go and go to the colleges. They again, I say this because I've been working with youth for over 15, 16 years, and all the girls, for whatever reason, tend to outperform the boys, and they're more mature, and they take bigger risks. So you're seeing it with them, right? At least with the men, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because things are changing and roles are changing and all this stuff with the right is changing, but the boys are falling behind, and I think because we are again if we're raised in a very traditional household and we don't have any skills, what are we gonna do, right? So I will say that I do see it in them, and maybe they're not necessarily taking jobs that are like, oh my god, gonna pay me a ton of money or whatever, but I just everywhere that I worked at, I see the women in all these positions of power, and they're very confident, right? Like they're like, okay, I'm gonna apply for this job, or I'm gonna apply for this school, and I don't see that from the men, in our community, at least when it comes to that. At least not a lot of them, and I don't know what it is, Maybe Ramos can give us some insight on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead, Carnal Ramos. So the question was, should we encourage a gambling style of investment? As like I was mentioning about my folks, that they gamble to be here, get deported or whatnot. So how do you feel about that?
I think we should encourage it because you know like I guess as kids, like your parents, like they're afraid of wherever they go, they're careful about the migra, like they don't want, like you said, they don't want to cause any trouble, they don't want to get arrested, none of that stuff. And so also they kind of teach you to be careful with your money and not take risks. Even me, sometimes I'm like, man, dude, I don't know if that's a good decision to switch jobs or here, because we don't want to get fired. You know what I mean? Like, and I even had homies tell me like, hey, dog, ask for a raise, or hey, why are you afraid to do that? He's like, damn, he's like, you're like a paisa fool. Like they can't do nothing to you. Like he was kind of telling me that I was like acting like I feared deportation or something like that. You know what I mean? Or that I was gonna get in trouble. That it's kind of instilled in you, without you even knowing. Like I have no reason to worry about being deported, but I guess that fear comes from that. You know what I mean? Because like at any moment they feel like their American experience here can vanish and just disappear. You know what I mean? So that's why they put an emphasis on not taking risks. You know what I mean? But I think we should, man, because I mean. And I think we should encourage the young people, because for example, the kids that still live at home, if let's say they gamble away all their life savings, I mean it's still fine because they live with their parents. You know what I mean? They probably don't even have to pay rent or just pay $200 for rent. And I think it's better to take risks when you're young, because when you're older you have a lot to lose. You know what I mean? Because like for me, I mean I'm the sole breadwinner. I'm a single father, and so like. I can't be taking those kind of risks because I'm all my kids have. You know what I mean? If I make some kind of risk where it's going to put my job into jeopardy, And let's say I lose this job, where else am I going to get a job that's going to pay me the same amount of money? I have no schooling. I don't have anything, man. I just have my work experience, and that's all I have to show. But as far as I would have to be in the same field, and it's like, man, someone's thinking like I need to get paid the same amount of money. You know what I mean? Or else it's like you can get a job anywhere, but to get paid the same amount of money, you got to start all over, like from the bottom sometimes. You know. But I think we should encourage it to the youth.
Yeah, man. I totally understand that, and yeah, that's true. You know, we sometimes are stuck in a certain rut in our lives that we just like, how the fuck did we get ourselves into this? You know what I mean? It's like we had the chance, but we just didn't take it. You know what I mean? But now this leads to my last question with this group, which is, and we see it a lot. We see it a lot. You know what I mean? Like we see a youngster, that's finally got his license driving, putting all his money into a car that eventually probably, gets taken away, or you know what I mean? So like I don't know, like it seems like there's this culture of looking the part but not financially being the part.
Yeah.
Why is that pushed so hard in black and brown communities? Why is that pushed so hard to be looking like the part? Because wealthy people, they don't dress like they're wealthy. So why are we pushing this agenda in black and brown communities to you have to have jewelry, you have to have big cars and shit like that, when that's not reality. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna let you express your point of view on this, Flo.
To answer the question, I would say that it's because people lack value, right? So that's why they have to have all these things to feel like, oh, look at me, right? I have a car, I have all this jewelry, and I think that's what it is. I think that our our culture, our community, our people, for the longest, they didn't have anything, and for whatever reason, materialistic things for people they represent, I have something now, right? Even though you could be $5,000 in debt, or whatever. I mean, just I think that's what it is. I think people want to put on the image that they have something, but in reality, they still have terrible finances at the end of
Yeah. Go ahead. King Mexico, what's up, carnal?
Yo,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
up,
You want to
bro?
go ahead
So, yo, good thing I came
express
on
your
this.
opinion on this question right here, bro? Like why is this culture pushed so hard in
Oh,
black
hell
and
yeah.
brown communities, bro?
When it comes down to the whole chain, the whole marketing, it's like we're a marketing unit, right? And we all fall into this tunnel vision, or we all fall into this black hole where we have to show off our wealth, and we all want to be hood rich, right? And the problem is that we listen to our music talk about flossing, right? We watch TV is all about flossing. It doesn't matter where you come from. Even the movies that we watch sometimes that are based on our community is all about flashy. We got a big chain, or we got jewelry, or we got a nice car. And it doesn't matter what you do and what you tell people. I went through that. You know what I mean? Me in my inner youth, I wanted the expensive shit all to walk around and impress people, you know? What did I have at the end of the day? And I look back, I ain't have shit. I could have saved all that money. For what was it walking around with $600 jeans just to impress somebody? And then you come back home at the end of the night, you living in the inner city. You're living in the inner city. You go into the projects. You don't have a car. You have, like in New York, you have flashy clothes. You wearing about $10,000 worth of clothes to get on public transportation. How the fuck does that look? That's pitiful. At least have a hoopty. At least a hoopty. I'll give you the. I'll give you a break. You have a hoopty, $10,000 worth of clothes, but your car's still not worth as much as your clothes. But hey, at least you got wheels. I know you have a job. You got insurance. You got some type of responsibility. And I know you probably ain't living with Mama Dukes. And that's, I think that's something that we have to breed our kids, not let them know about brand. Don't bring up brand. When you buy stuff for your kids, don't tell them it's brand. You know what I mean? Just put it on their foot. And it's hard, you know what I mean? Especially going to public schools because other kids talk about it. And it's only when you become a parent and you become an adult that I call it the evolution of mindhood. And I think we all have to leave that hood mentality. It sounds very, very basic, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hard. Sometimes pick up a damn book, travel, leave the inner city that you live in, go to a different state, experience something different. Even if you can't travel outside the U.S., just travel to a different state. Travel. Let's say if you live in South Cal, go to North Cal, see how they live up there. Interact with people who speak different, because then you get all this base and experience, and it changes the way you look at things, right? And just being exposed to stuff, like like myself, right? I get exposed to a lot of things every day, so I understand mental health is crazy, right? But at the same time, you're like, I know why you're here, and it's by choice. Some people are homeless by choice, and some people are in a mental state that they're in is because it's choice. If you live in the projects, right, and you're getting free money, right, not to knock it, right, but hey, if I could get SNAP, I would get SNAP. I'll get EBT. But at the end of the day, it's generation and generation. I've met people, bro, who never want to leave the system. So their parents were in the system, they're in the system, they continue being in the system. Why? Because the system is there. And it brings to current events right now with migration, right? So you have all these migrants all of a sudden coming up here and being activists. They don't want, they like, oh yeah, we want to work, but we want to live in the hotel. Like New York, we have it. Oh, I'm like, but you came up here and you were living in horrible conditions to come up here. And now they're putting you in a sheltered place and you're complaining? You're complaining? If you came from El Salvador, you was living pretty bad, bro. You came from El Salvador. You crossed what was that? Honduras, Panama, Mexico, Texas, and then to go all the way to New York. Like, come on. It's not to be nothing against anybody, you know what I mean? But that's the thing. And then also, we also got to open our eyes that our economy is hitting shit, bro. Bank of America just made a statement. The CEO is like, yo, we're going to have to not give people their money because we ain't trying to lose. So people need to wake up. Like, it's here. And I send information all the time to, people, they know who get the DMs of all the information I find. And it's there. And we just blind. We don't want to see this. We don't. I don't want to see it either. But and a lot of things is we all talk about unity, 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 but it's never there. You know what I mean? And that's where it starts too. You know what I mean? That whole conversation is just unity and sharing. And I love when it's you and everybody else like flow. And I'm happy. It's like having Rasa stand again right here. You know what I mean? I'm just waiting you to close this live with your famous line at the end.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
But yeah, man, that's just I just wanted to get in and stuff on this stuff, and also just to go to the first question about the whole thing about why we don't work as hard as first generation, second generation immigrants, right? We lose that hunger that our parents came up here. We lose that hunger. I lost it. I was a lazy American. I'm not gonna admit it. I'm gonna admit it. I mean, I became an American, and as an American, I always thought as a kid, America's supposed to take care of me. And as you get older, you go from a liberal mindset to a conservative mindset that you got to work for yours. Nothing's handed If they hand it to you, you're not gonna know its worth. But if you work for it, if you work for it, then you know the worth of it. And our parents, all of our parents had it within them. But when it came down to us, it seemed easy. You know what I mean? It seemed so easy that we just wanted the handout. And then our friends that we interacted with had the handout. So we thought it was cool to walk around with EBT and food stamp money and show off to our friends that colorful purples and orange and brown bills, not knowing that was all part of the system.
Feel it, brother. I feel it. The same people that gave us EBT, the same people that brought us crack, plain and simple. So, yeah, man.
Yep.
Ramos, what do you think about this, carnal? Go ahead and express yourself on this. So, the question is about the whole the culture. Why do we dress a certain way when but we don't actually play the part of being financially fit, right? But why do we dress like we supposedly are, right?
Yeah, I think what it is, it's from not having any money. So like you think that you think that gold chains and cars and shit, they put value on that, and a lot of times what happens is more like psychological thing where like people feel like inferior, or they feel like they're lesser than another race. And so what they want to do is that's why they put the gold chains on, because they feel like they're nothing. But what things of value that cost money, I guess they feel like it gives them value. Because I study people like that, man. When I see people have a gang of gold chains and stuff like that, like it's like you could tell that they don't have any confidence, and they don't have any they don't know how much they're really worth, because they have to use expensive things. And so I think that might be something too, like because our parents come as immigrants, and even as first generation, you kind of experience that because you go along with them. Sometimes you're their translator for your parents and stuff, and so you kind of get an idea of what they go through. And so I guess, as a kid, you're like, oh, people call my parents wetbacks, stuff like that. They're like lesser than the white people. So I think if I drive this expensive ass car and have this gold and wear this expensive stuff, they're gonna accept me, and I'm not gonna be what my parents are. I'm not gonna be the like the wetback that they are. You know what I mean? The immigrant. So I think that's why people try to assimilate. And I think I even heard Mike Tyson. He was saying that he felt like he was less than the white people. So he saw the white people had gold chains, and he wanted gold chains too. So I see them with the gold chains, I get gold chains too. So now I'm as valuable as they are, because I have the same possessions that they possess. You know what I mean? So I think that it's like a more like a psychological thing, dude. Uh, as to want to have the even people do it, like they want to keep up with the Joneses, and they do the same thing. Like I seen it for example, like one of my old coworkers, they had like the iPhone 13, and all of a sudden the new one came out, and then the wife wanted to get it just because someone else had gotten it. So it's like it's like keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? That's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, man. I feel it. I feel it. No, but like this is the first group that we're getting done here on the platform. So this is for the people that are just joining in. We're discussing financial security versus financial struggles in the barrios. So as for the first group, gracias guys for joining in, and for giving your input and all that. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the other group, see whoever wants to join in. Gracias Flo, appreciate it, man. So the next people that want to join in I'm gonna go ahead and send some invites. Whoever accepts, muchas gracias. And buenas noches to everyone that's just joining in. ¿Qué más quiere? Jesus, what's up, carnal? How you doing, man? I'm gonna send you the invite, bro. See if you want to join in, man. Buenas noches, Yvette. How are you?
Buenas noches. I'm good. Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. I'm sorry that I'm
Do you
so late.
hear an echo?
I do.
Yeah, right.
I do.
Just a little bit. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brownie Loco from the Bay Area. Thanks for having me here again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still there. Right.
Right.
So,
So,
can you guys hear me?
you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's
You
still
still
echo.
There's still echo.
echo?
Still echo.
I don't know why that.
I don't know why that.
Ew, I can hear
Hi.
myself.
How about now?
How about now? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Oh, goddamn, it's still there.
Oh, goddamn, it's still there.
How
How about
about
now? Good?
now? Good?
¿Qué pasaría?
¿Qué pasaría?
A ver,
I'm not sure. Do you want
I'm
me
not
to
sure.
come
would
back?
it be
Do you want me to
okay
come
if you
back?
guys
If you guys
come out and then
come out
I'll
and then
send the
I'll
invite again?
send the invite again.
All right.
Por favor.
Sounds good.
Appreciate that.
Favor.
Sounds good.
Sometimes it's technology.
Technology.
La carajo, you know?
How do I leave?
I think it's an X on top, or this should be an X or something, no? So to everyone that's joining in, we're discussing finances, financial security versus financial insecurities or struggles. We'll send the invite again. Give it, Pete. ¿Cómo estás, Pete? How's everything? A ver, send it to Brand Local, to Yvette. All right. How about now? Better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes, I don't know, there was some kind of
No
glitch
echo.
or something.
I just have a problem with hearing myself. I don't ever go and watch my interviews or nothing like that because I sound like a little girl and I don't like
You
it.
sound professional, hermana.
Ay,
A ver, so ahí les
gracias.
van. So this is a discussion in regards to financial securities versus financial insecurities or struggles in the barrio, ¿verdad? So I want to start it off with Yvette. What do finances in your eyes, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like in the barrios?
Well, finance obviously it's related to money, right? Um, but I think in the barrio, finance is too much of a big word. It sounds something like sophisticated, something fancy, something that like politics our people don't want to get involved with because they feel like that's not my thing, you know. I don't like politics. I don't like finances. It sounds for like people in finance, you know, people in Wall Street not understanding that these issues through the way we live, you know, that they have a direct impact in our life. Um, so in other words, it sounds like a barrier. Um, Something like so big and so impossible that people can't even can begin to comprehend what it is. Um, I would just like to highlight that finance and wealth are not the same. So I don't know if you want me to get into it or you want the brother
It's up to
to answer the
you
question.
if you feel like going further, está bien, you know.
You can continue. Just continue going because, I totally agree with you.
Well, I think there's education about finances and money, economy, that it's accessible to everybody, and especially because we live in a capitalist world. So finances rule our life. You know, we are obligated to partake in finance, whether we understand them or not. However, wealth, I think that's up to people's interpretation of what that means. To give you an example, um, the ancestors measured people's wealth by the size of their family. It was not by accumulating material stuff, possessions. That was not necessarily a big thing. And I know different tribes and different pueblos, nations might have different perspectives on this or different interpretations, but I know for my people, possessions were not necessarily like a big thing because we came with nothing, we die with nothing. So it was more like about you having something and sharing with your community, with the next generation. Like, you like my earrings? Here you go. Like, you can have them. Because we didn't believe in keeping things like stagnant. They needed to keep moving. It was part of sharing with the next generations. So finance today is completely different, again, because we live in a capitalist world where time is money. So if you're not doing anything with your time, you're not producing money. And if you're not producing money, then you're not being successful. And that's really messed up.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I totally agree with
Ronnie.
that.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Ronnie. Share your perspective on this.
yeah, I totally agree with her. You know, I think now we live in a society that everything has to do with money, time, your clothes, what you eat, what you drive, wherever you go. Even with the paletero or the elotero, there's still money involved. Um, I'm not saying money is. I'm not saying money is bad or money is good. We need money. Yes, we do, but we just gotta know how to
Yeah.
be able to control our finances. We just gotta know how to take care of our money. You know, like the brother said earlier. Now you gotta be wearing all these chains, all these clothes, all the expensive rides, whatever, just to try to fit in. But then again, he mentioned something psychological. You know what I'm saying? Um, Everything you see, everything you hear, it's money, this, money, that, and somehow it's creating in our conscious that we gotta act that way, that we gotta be that way. It ain't nothing wrong, by having a nice shirt. There's nothing wrong to having nice shoes, but the thing is, are you gonna sacrifice, not giving your children food, clothes, just to buy the expensive stuff? And that's where a lot of people don't really put attention to it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think that, especially youngsters, they want all these new clothes, all these new shoes, which is okay. I grew up that way. I wanted to wear something too, when I was growing up. But as a parent now, we gotta be like, if you want something, work for it. Maybe later on, by the time we go to the store, I'll be like, you know what? You work for it, I'll pay you half for it, and you pay me the other half. That's just an example, because that's what I do with my daughter sometimes. Um, money. If you know how to use your money well, you can be able to save. It's, I'm talking about now these days. If you know how to control your money, you can be able to save. But the thing is, let the money not to control you. That's the thing. If you let the money control you, guess what? You're gonna start your brains are gonna be washing. You're gonna start creating a life that you think you deserve, but you're not. You're gonna start thinking that having money is the best thing that can happen to you. No, we need money, but we don't need money to be looking down to others. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to say.
I feel you, carnal. So now, our parents, I mean, I'm a first, generation Chicano, so my parents are the ones that really came with that fear of the unknown over here, right? We grew up in the system already, knowing the America, right? The America that we all know. Uh, and so we kind of already, we were taught English, so we didn't have to struggle with the not knowing part, right? Right? We translated for our parents or whatnot, right? So they had that fear, pero le echaron huevos, le echaron ganas, and they did what they did to make money, to put food on their plate, to put a roof over our heads or whatnot, de una manera u otra, right? So the question that I'm going to ask you guys is being poor a choice? And I'm going to let Hermana Yvette go ahead and answer that.
Oh my goodness, that's a heavy question. Um, because again, if the interpretation is coming from a capitalist society where we have to, I mean, in one way, maybe not psychologically, maybe not mentally, not let the money rule your life, but it does rule our life. The truth is that it does, whether we want to accept it that way or not. But I know that money is the thing that allows me to spend time with my children. You know, having my mortgage paid allows me to be able to provide for my children. Um, in many ways, if we didn't have that income or that money, I will not be able to do a lot of things with my children. So my free time is dependent on how much money I have and how much money I can spend. So I hate that it is that way. I'm not saying that that should be the way. I freaking hate the system. I hate this capitalist world. I hate the fact that we have to sacrifice so much. And I'm just going to put it this way to you. I've seen my mom work her entire life. I'm going to be 35 years old. And there's not been one time that I can think of my mom taking a day off, not even when she's been sick. That's not good. My mom had to wake up at 6 in the morning as a 6-year-old child to carry water from a fountain for her house, for the entire household back in our pueblo, where we come from. Um, so my mom doesn't know life without working. My mom doesn't know what it's like to have uh stillness, to not have to. My mom doesn't know what to do with herself if she's at home without work. And it drives me crazy because my mom deserves to know that peace. My mom deserves to know what it is like to rest. Our people deserve to know what it is like to have a day off where you get to do nothing. Don't worry about those fucking dishes. Don't worry about that laundry because at the end of the day, that's still gonna be there. But the time with your family, it's never gonna come back. And just to put it to you this way, my mom never went to my school meetings, right? Here in the US. In Mexico, she had to because I was creating problems all the time. I was getting into fights all the time. So she was there like at least once a week. Here in the US, I came here when I was a sophomore in high school. My mom never had the chance to actually go to a back to school night. My mom never had the chance to go see me be the student of the month. My mom never had the chance to go to do any of these things with me because if she missed a day of work, that meant that she couldn't pay rent or that she couldn't put food on our table. So I can tell you that my mom didn't make that choice. My mom made the choice to work and work and work and work three jobs at a time, and we're still broke as fuck. That was not by choice. It's by design. When we have that imposed border militarized, that has created an infinite supply of labor by bringing by undocumented workers that have the same scenario than my mom, have 2, 3 jobs, and they can't even afford to pay an apartment. That's not by choice, that's by design. Now, I can tell you that there's also a gap in the information because our people, especially in documented community, pay taxes. So those freaking white supremacists, Trump supporters who feel that, our people are just leeches and taking from the government, that's bullshit. That's not true. We pay taxes. We probably run people's social security, their retirement, their medical access, and our people don't ever get to claim those benefits for themselves. We don't. Our people can't even think of retirement or a 401k plan because they don't know what that means. They don't even have, well, for one, they don't have access to it systematically. But I can tell you that there's things like becoming a independent contractor where you can create your own little business and you don't have to rely on someone's on an employer. I can tell you that there's insurance that our people don't know they have access to, and it's the same thing as a retirement fund. So the financial literacy, the education is important because there's ways, just like the system has loopholes for the people in power, there are things that we can do by exercising our most basic human rights and having the information, the language that we need. But again, finance feels like so big and so impossible. There are people say like, oh, but I don't understand that. That's too much for me. So they don't know that they have these options. They don't know that they can become an independent contractor. They don't know that they can do this with an IT number. They don't know that they can buy insurance. They don't know that they can have access to a retirement plan through that insurance. So in a way, again, it's not by choice, it's by design, but this system's not gonna work for anybody unless we make it work for ourselves. And that's where we have to do better. That's where, as an advocate, this is something that I'm telling the people all the time. Don't expect a politician, don't expect someone to come in to their rescue because they're not. They don't give a fuck about us. That's clear. It's always been clear. But you go and you educate yourself and you do what you gotta do to make sure that this system's working for you. And if it's not, then what are we gonna do about it? Because there are things in place to hold the people accountable for these actions. And if we don't stand together, again, as an advocate, I see the power that I have by showing up and letting them know, hey, I'm only here to observe what you're doing. And if you don't do your job, guess what? I'm going to report you. I'm going to file a complaint. I'm going to open up an investigation. And it doesn't matter whether the people, the family have documents or not. We can make that happen just by sticking together and understanding the language. Same thing with finances. So I'm going to leave it
Gracias
at
for that,
that.
Romana. I appreciate that. That's a lot of information right there. Que sí, there is a wiggle room para ayudar a la gente. You know what I mean? Even though they close a lot of doors, pero there is vamos a knock on another door. Pero Brownie,
Yep.
brother, go ahead and if you would give us your point of view on this question. Is being poor a choice?
Yes, it is. It is a choice. As like you have the choice to eat in the morning or eat in the afternoon. Like you have the choice to study or go to jail. You have the choice to live the life that you wanted or be a slave to the system. A lot of people, blame others. Oh, es que the system aquí. Oh, es que me quitan taxes. Oh, es de que, making all these kind of excuses. Now the question is your life run by excuses or your life runs by leadership? Do you have leadership, like do you carry yourself with leadership? Leadership doesn't mean that you're the boss and you tell people what to do. No, leadership starts with you. I'm gonna become, I don't like be poor. I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna do what I have to do to be better. I want my fam. I want my family. I don't want my family to struggle. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do everything that I have in my power to take my family to a different level. I don't like this job. I can go and get another one with a different that I can get paid better. Everything starts with you. A lot of people said, "Oh, being poverty." Well, that's how we born. No, if you see, there's a lot of people that comes from poverty. You know, and you can, and like, and anybody who's listening right now, they might feel the same way. I felt the same way, but I told myself one time, no, basta, hasta aquí. I'm gonna do whatever it takes that I can get myself into a better position. Not to be rich, because no, that's not my goal, but to be better what I was, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, you know. But being poor, it is a choice. Why? Because that's what the system wants you to think, that you have to live poor. But no, if you have that leadership mentality, you're gonna take whatever it takes. And start it from yourself, like I just said, and I'm not gonna repeat this. Everything starts with you. Like the sister said, her mom was carrying water. So my mom, my mom was telling me stories when she was little and things that what she did. But while she was growing up, she decided to study because she wanted to become better. And what happened later in life, that my mom, she made the opportunity to go to the university and have how do you say, tres títulos, and that's an example right there, And I remember my mom telling me, like, she went through a lot of struggle, but she always had that in mind. She wanted to be like she wanted to have something better for herself. Then she married my dad, and they have me, and now she's like, no, we want something else, including my dad. He was when he grew up with nothing, but he made everything out of scratch. Next thing you know, my dad was a banker, and he was going up. And he was good with numbers, and he was going up and up. But he never had that mentality to become rich. He just wanted to be better for himself and to the family. And somehow that's how my mom and dad, they clicked, because they had the same mentality. And now I got that, and now I have it, and I want to share this with everybody. Don't think just because you got a job and it pays you a certain amount of money, that makes you poor. No, you have the choice to be better. You have the choice to go and get like a like a hustle on the side. You can do that. And another thing that I wanted to bring is that everything starts with you. If you have a poor mind, that's going to reflect on everything. But if you have the mentality that you want to get better and you want to be in a better situation and save a little bit of money, you gotta start. You gotta be the one who start doing it. You gotta be the one who start putting in the work and break the cycle, from our parents, from our grandparents, and let our kids know that that kind of belief to be poor comes from the system, not from us.
Can,
Sure.
can I add something real quick? Um, I I think in many ways our brothers, right? It has to start with you, but at the same time, we cannot disregard that there's many factors involved, right? For instance, the sharing about your mom, how she went to get 3 titles, that has to do with the support system. the fact that she was able to do that, you know, and there's people that don't have that. Um, and also like to be a parent and now thinking of children and working so hard to just provide for them, it's also at the expense of what, you know? Because I can tell you that the kids are not gonna remember the nights in the movies or when you bought them something really expensive or maybe a brand shoes, or and they remember the time with parents. And again, to have be able to have that time, we need money. So I think it's a cycle, and we cannot disregard that this system, it does it's not even about equality, it's about equity. And not everyone has the same starting line, you know? Some people, I mean, just to give you perspective, in the United States, the biggest breaker of generational wealth, whether it can determine that the next generation can go to college or not, is whether your family owns a house or not, and if they're able to maintain it. If you inherit a house from your family, you have the next generation has a bigger chance to go and get a higher education. So how many people have been here for years? And again, at least where I live in Orange County, one family needs $68,000 just to pay for a two-bedroom apartment. And a lot of our people are making $20,000 per year. So I do believe that it has to start with you, absolutely. But we cannot disregard that we live in a system that does not provide equity and that has a lot of bumps on the road for our people, especially our people. And I read someone that said that we like to blame it on one race. Well, I'm gonna say this system functions on white supremacy, and white people have that starting line that we don't get. That's why we talk about privilege, because they have a privilege that we don't really have. I know, for example, the families be displaced by the Dodgers. They were robbed from that generational wealth, and they're still struggling with the consequences of that today, 3 generations later. So again, there's multiple factors to that, but that you have to start within yourself. Hell yes, that has to start with you.
Man, this is a lot of powerful messages, gente. This is great plática. ¿Cómo estás, carnal? Pete, how you doing? Buenas noches, ¿cómo estás?
Good noches. I was listening to all of you talk and brought up very, very good points, very good, facts there. And I think what it is.
One thing real quick, carnal. The question was, is being poor a choice? That's what the question originated from, with all this plática. But the original question was, is being poor a choice?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to go ahead and start to answer that, because I think the answers that Yvette gave and the Carnal gave meshed together is actually your answer. So the way I see it is, our parents didn't have much of a choice. They had choices, but not very many opportunities. Some were able to take it, some were not, right? Depending on sometimes where you lived, or sometimes just the environment. So the choice actually comes to us now, the kids of the parents that are in that situation. So we do have a choice, because we make choices every day, whether we decide to advance or stay in the same place, right? We have a choice to make an education, to learn what our parents struggled and how we can make it better, right? So we do have a choice, but I'm not gonna say our ancestors, but our parents didn't have the choices that we have. So in a way, the answer is yes and no, right? So it's upon us to educate ourselves and educate our people, to give them the resources, to give them to make opportunities. And by I say what I mean by making opportunities is not always hating our own people or bringing them down, is uplifting and saying, look, hey, this is what I learned over here. This is how you can do this. Come over here so you guys can learn as well. You know, we gotta put brown money into brown communities. You know, invest on our own people, invest in our artists, and then those people have to invest back. Then it doesn't become what do you call it? Doesn't become a system of oppression, because that's how we're battling it. That's how we're fighting it. We're fighting it. Ourselves are fighting it. So our sister Yvette was correct. The system is built on white supremacy. We know that. In the beginning, you know that. But our brother is right by saying, ¿Qué pasó? Oh, sí. I'm sorry, give me a second. Sí. Arriba, sí. Sí. ¿Quiere que vaya a agarrarla? Oh, es que estaba en la plática. Ok. Sí, sí, está bien. Está abierto. All right. Sorry about that. So, it's... Ya me perdí. La sister was right. It is, the system was designed for that. But now that we know that, we need to make that choice to make changes. Just like advocating, going to protest, educating ourselves about what's going on, what decisions are the government doing that they're not telling us. Not relying on politicians because they don't give a fuck. She's right, they don't. Right? Here we are thinking that our own people are going to save us. Chales, they're not, because they're just going to fall us. ¿Sí la yo? Okay. So I believe truly that we need to come together, let our egos go, let our stare downs, our all that about, you know, mad dogging each other, all that crap. We need to leave that and bring our own money into our communities, into our own people, give resources so that we don't rely on any other system, but our own, right? So that's my answer. So I just wanted to give a big talk on that, because both answers are right, but I think we just need to educate ourselves on everything, on our history, on everything that has happened to our people, so that we don't make that mistake, so that we don't let that go by, right? So that's what I was trying to say. So just want to thank you guys. Sorry about that interruption, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk about that.
Man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, you know what? And you're spot on, bro. You know what? These questions are not for like, oh, you're correct or you're not. It's more like, what is your experience? How, you know, what did you see while growing up? You know, experiencing these things that we're discussing, right? Porque yo miro muchas cosas. You know, my experience can be totally different than yours, even though we both come from similar environments, ¿verdad? Brown community. So, pero it's another. You know, you may come from another. You know, your parents may have gone through different struggles within where we went through with our brown experience, ¿verdad? Pero that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Pero this is to the next question. Now, as for, you know, we all know it's obvious that that the goal to, you know, is to be financially fit, financially free, that freedom of being financially stable. Pero why isn't it more common for us to have these conversations in brown communities? What is it? Is it the fear of, oh, ya se cree muy chingón because he's able to, you know, budget his, you know, money and save the right way, right? What is it that we can't have these conversations in brown communities to empower, not to brag, but to empower? And we're gonna go ahead and leave the Yvette to answer that.
Well, maybe I don't know, maybe because of my involvement, my background, I can tell you that I do see this being a topic of conversation. But with that, to be fair, I'm also part of abolitionist communities and circles, um, in like the Zapatista Asamblea, where we believe in a different way of life and governing ourselves. To give you an example, in the Zapatista communities, we have something that it's called worker cooperative. And that means that families get together, they start their own business, and there's no hierarchy. They get to be their owner, the boss, the management, and the employees. So me working hard, that's good for you, and you working hard is gonna be good for me. So it's a collective effort. But that doesn't mean that someone's above you, someone's below you. That means that we're equal, equity, right? On the other hand, I think in the bigger scheme of things, and I see this a lot with the migrant community. Again, going back to people not wanting to, that they believe that they don't belong in politics, and that includes the financial aspect of it. I hear a lot from our people that they just come here for a little bit of time, you know, like, oh, I'm only going to go to the States for maybe 5, 6 years and go back. So the time that they stay here, they don't want to engage in action. They don't want to engage in community. A lot of times they can't. They don't have the time because they're always having that hope of going back. And most of the time, 20, 30 years have gone by and they never went back. But they're still not wanting to engage in the politics here. It's easier to look at the politics back home and look at everything that's wrong because that's what they know. So it's a challenge to provide information and tools that will challenge people's reality. It's cognitive dissonance. So when people are presented with this information, they're gonna resist, you know, they're gonna get defensive, because you're changing everything that they know and they understand. So in a way, it might be fear, but not conscious fear. It's just fear of the unknown, fear of not belonging, fear of not being right. But again, I do agree with Pete. And like I said, I come from a Zapatista background. I come from an abolitionist background. And I believe that no one's going to come to the rescue. If we want to do better, we have to organize, mobilize, and build our own structure as community. I believe that our money needs to stay within our own people because we are a big force for this country. The entire economy of this country functions on the labor of our people. And I mean, just think about this. We see a lot of brown business, but a lot of times they don't own their business or they're paying rent. So really the wealth is not being built on the community. It's just being transferred to someone else. So why not get together, buy a little piece of land and make sure that we are owning the land? That it takes a lot of organizing. It takes a lot of communicating. It takes a lot of communal consensus. And for that, you need, like Pete said, the ego. The ego has to be out the door, you know? There's no me before you. It has to be all of us. And unfortunately, in this society, and again, I go back to this capitalist system, we have a race for social status. And that also comes from the casta system. So this is a historical perspective, especially the states where we have double colonization, where the colonizers became colonized. There's always been that race for social status. So that translates into the economy. And if you can measure your wealth by material stuff, then you've made it. That means that you've been successful. And in reality, that's not it. You know, a lot of people have beautiful houses and beautiful cars, but they don't know them. They're in debt forever for those things. So I think we need to shift our way of thinking and think that the well-being of the community is my well-being, and really make sure that we're supporting each other, that we're uplifting each other, but more than anything, that we're creating our own liberation. Because I don't want to fit in with this capitalist system. I want us to have our own system.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. You know, that's a lot of points you made there. A lot of points you made there in regards to having that communication within the barrio, right? Within your immediate community, having the communication if you're starting a business, you know, talk to other brown gente that have a business. How can we make it better? How can we own it, not just rent for it? How can we own it? How can we own this whole block of businesses of just brown faces, right? Pero yeah, go ahead, Brownie. Give us our your perspective on this question.
Okay, what was the question again?
It was basically, why is it that, you know, the goal is, we all know that the financial goal is to be able to, you know, be financially fit, right, in society. But why aren't these conversations had more in brown communities and in like the households of in brown communities?
Egos, like the sister said. A lot. I mean, all of us, you know, all of us are Latinos. You know, we got that ego. Let me give you an example. What happened if a brother buys a car? Oh, mira, chingón, got a car. What happened if a sister got a house for her family? Oh, mira, muy chingón, I got a house. I mean, why don't we? I mean, how come we cannot be happy for others and be like, hey, you know what? Hey, he works hard, and now he buy himself a ride. Hey, mira, you know, the sister got a house for her family. Hey, you know, let's give her props. But no, everybody thinks for their own, and I think that's our problem. You know, everything that the sister said and the brother said, you know, is perfect. But if we don't get out from that mentality, from the ego mentality, que solo yo, y yo, we were never gonna be able to succeed. Not just for us, I mean, just not for me, for our family, but everybody in general, especially you know, in Cali. You know, if we stop with the ego que, oh, este se cree más chingón que aquel. No, it's not about that. You don't know if that person worked hard just to get it. How long did it take that person to get it? You know, how the person get it. I mean, the person probably, I mean, someone probably get the house for like by having 3 jobs. You know, but we don't know that because we don't see that. Y lo más fácil es criticar. Ah, mira, muy chingona. What the heck, you know? No, we gotta get out from that mentality. We gotta come out. We gotta start creating the mentality of gratitude. Oh, mira esta persona, qué bien, lo hizo. Y esta persona lo hizo, I can be able to do it too. And if I can do it too, there's somebody else who can be able to do it too. You know? So all I'm saying is, you know, like, we need to get educated mentally, financially, in every single area so we can be able to succeed and share what we know with others.
Yeah, sure.
You know, learn from our mistakes, learn from our past, how our parents, you know, they lived, so we can break that cycle. You know what I mean? We can break that cycle, and we can teach our kids to be like, well, this is the way how we do things from now on. Don't do the same mistakes I did, or the same mistakes, you know, your grandfathers did. No, mira, I'm gonna teach you a new way to think. Now, you know, if you see somebody, you know, working hard and got something, hey, felicítalo. There's nothing wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, because then if you say something to others, then you're gonna feel good about yourself, and that's gonna empower you to do the same, and somebody else gonna come up to you and tell you the same thing. You know, so it's a chain. Mira, ego is a chain. If I teach my daughter ego, she gonna be teaching? She gonna be teaching ego to her friends, to the neighbors, to other raza in different cities. But if I come with a different mind and empower raza, guess what? They're gonna start creating that mentality, and that's the goal, to get out from there, to become better, to empower ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So, like the sister said, I totally agree with her. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's the way I think, and when I see somebody, like in the community, a Latino, can be a Mexicano, Guatemalteco, whatever, I'm that person, I'm that person who's there, like, just to give him props. ¿Cómo lo hizo? No sé, but he did it. Or she. Y si ellos lo pudieron hacer, I know I can be able to do it too. So that's empowerment.
Empowerment.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful message, carnal. Beautiful message, carnal. That deserves a digital applause, man.
That's cool how you can do that.
Hey, carnal, Pete, I want
Yeah.
to hear your point of view, carnal. I want to hear your point of view on this, man.
All right.
It's the same. Mira, just one thing. I'm sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off.
okay.
But ese aplauso lo comparto aquí with the brother and sister, man.
Yo, that's dope. I like how you do that, Plauso. It's so cool. I think, in my opinion, I think what it is everything that everyone said, but it boils down to we haven't educated ourselves on conflict resolution. So whenever we come into a conflict, we organize, we start having these conversations, but then a conflict comes, ¿y qué pasa? They do that stuff, right? Instead of celebrating each other, we start hating each other. So I think we need to learn how to resolve conflict better in order to have these solutions coming up faster and better for our communities. Learn how to deal with someone that has a different upbringing, but still be able to talk to that person without each other disrespecting each other, right? Without saying, como dice el compadre, ya te crees muy chingón porque te agarraste un car y you can't even afford it. We start bashing on each other without actually even knowing what's going on. We don't know what that person's going through. They might have gotten a car because that's the only thing they can get or whatever, So I think the most important thing is to learn how to do conflict resolution. Be able to talk among ourselves, and if a conflict arises, start learning how to communicate in a better tone with more respect towards each other. If you have a difference within each other, it's hard because egos are high. I mean, that's what they call them, egos, ¿verdad? Porque tan altos, se vuelan altos. Pero I think it's just a matter of learning how to communicate with each other and letting each other know that we may think different, but we still gotta respect each other and learn how to work resolutions. Because, I mean, when you come to a problem, you're taught in school different ways how to solve problems, but you're never taught how to have solve problems within your own communities. Who's gonna know? I don't know. I didn't know how to. When I come up to someone that has an ego, my thing is to stay away from them because I don't want that vibe. But maybe that's keeping us from actually bridging our communities. Maybe he knows something I don't. Maybe I know something he doesn't. So it's just, I think, just a big matter of conflict resolution. We just got to learn how to deal with that because I'm not good at that. I don't think a lot of us are, but in a lot of ways, I wasn't. I wasn't in my marriage. I wasn't as a father. I mean, even though I proud myself as a father, I wasn't always good at resoluting finding solutions for conflicts between families, you know. So I think that's a big part right there, brother. I think big part right there.
Yeah,
And
appreciate
that's
that,
all I
man.
gotta say.
Yeah, appreciate the point of view, carnal. For this last question, this is gonna be the last to close up the episode, and this is gonna be why is this culture of playing the part like one is rich or one is well off or wealthy by what they wear, what they drive, jewelry and all these ways of posing like one is wealthy. Why is this culture pushed so hard in black and brown communities? We're gonna go ahead and let Yvette answer that.
Um, well, obviously, I can only speak as a brown person. Um, but I think it's really easy to convince people of how to be, um, how to, who you're supposed to be, right? Like when you have an entire system built on supremacy and violence, stripping away your identity from you, your values, your way of life, even your way of praying, and they're constantly raping the land. I think it's easy to I mean, what I'm trying to get is that the system has broken our spirit for so long that it's easy to try to tell you how to be. And people that don't know who they are will believe that. And I see it with our gente all the time, especially with the gang members. Um, these kids are just becoming what the lies that this system has told them all the time. You're only meant to do this, like you are this person, you're nothing but a criminal, you have no hope, so they go on and become those things because they don't have that foundation, they don't have that sense of identity, they don't have that community, so they don't have that sense of belonging. So I think I know that I've spoken about identity and values before, in the other conversations that we've had, but when you understand who you are, where you come from, who your people are, man, like everything else follows. You don't depend on something expensive to give you value. You don't depend on maybe like a diploma or a degree for people to actually give you validation or like now you're worth something. And don't get me wrong, education's needed. It's so valuable. I mean, obviously, this whole topic it can be rooted to the lack of education. But what I'm saying is that a lot of these things come with money, including education. And when you've taken everything from our people, it's easy for us to become what the system has told you to become. So I'm gonna repeat what I said in the comments. I tell my kids, don't aim for having a good job. Aim for creating good jobs. And someone said, well, but before you can create good jobs, you need to be responsible. You need to learn how to work for someone. I disagree, because when you know who you are, you know your position in this life, in your community, you know your place and your potential. You walk life with responsibility. You respect everything around you, starting with the land that sustains you. And when you can have that way of seeing life, you respect the person next to you. You don't think of someone as being below you. You don't think that you're above someone else. You walk in a humble way. And you might make mistakes. We all do. We're human beings. But at the very least, you can be held accountable to your people. You can come back to your community and say, you know what, like, how can I be better? How can I be the person that you deserve? And that starts at home. Once again, I have these conversations with my family that way. How can I become the mother you deserve if I don't know where I'm messing up? So guess what they do? They call me in, Mom, we gotta have a family meeting because you did something that we don't like. And I listen. It doesn't mean that they're right or wrong, but their feelings are hurt, so I listen. So for us to be able to replicate that in community, it has to start at home. But for us to have that community, you need to know who you are so you don't become the thing that the system has been telling us for generations that we are. And that's my answer.
That is, I love it. 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 Yeah. You know what? That's good. Oh, you always like, you go more than beyond, you know what I mean? It's, I love it. Gracias. I appreciate that point of view. Brownie, go ahead, carnal. Give us your perspective on this question, carnal.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
It was why does it seem like this culture of like a false identity, I guess you could say, towards looking the part like we're actually rich, but we're not. It's just a phase. It's just this identity crisis that we're trying to figure out who we are in this society. Pero we know our surroundings are nothing but poverty. Pero we dress the part like we're rich. We act like we're rich or whatever, you know what I mean, based on jewelry or whatever, right? Pero in reality, financially, we're broken. Why is this, it seems like it's pushed in the brown community so much?
I want to say by the media, by the movie you watch, by the music you listen to, by the people you hang around with, by the things that you heard, that you've been listening, by the things you listen every day that tells you, you gotta be rich, you gotta be rich, you gotta be rich. Fuck everything else. You gotta be rich, you gotta be rich. You know? A lot of things has to do with music. Just look at the music, look at the music these days, what they talk about. You know? Basically what they're doing is pushing youngsters to commit crimes just for money, make robberies just for money. How many videos have you seen, on Instagram, YouTube, youngsters taking money, brown on brown, just for money, It has to do everything with the media, because the media and the system, what they want to see us broke. They want us to forget where we come from. They want us to create different I want to say groups. I want to say followers, not groups. Media wants to follow them, creating fear on us. If you don't make money, you ain't shit. Go rob people. You know what I'm saying? On music, if you don't dress this way, if you don't have I must say, if you don't have, well, I don't want to make the name, but if you don't have like a certain cut, you're not, you're not part of it. If you don't talk different, if you don't talk, act, or be certain thing, you're not part of it. So basically what they tell you to do is go to rob, deal, not in those words, but basically what they're trying to do is, make you blind and be a follower of the system by creating fear in us. That's why.
Feel that. So what I kind of got from that last statement you made is kind of like they're kind of pushing us to a corner to be this that we're not supposed to be, right?
Exactly.
To be lost, to be lost in society and not understand where we should be as opposed to where we are. Man, that's deep. I love that. That's deep. Go ahead, Pete, carnal. So the question was, why does it seem like this culture of kind of like, I guess you could say faking it till you make it, right? Faking it that you're rich because we know that our surrounding is poverty. Why do you think this culture is abundantly pushing this way of living in the barrios?
To make the white man rich? I don't know. No, I mean, you know what? Let me tell you. I think that again, both 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 points were right on. One is we sometimes don't have an identity. We lose our identity, and the quickest and fastest way to get respect is to show that we have, that we have money, or we have, how do you say, financial stability, or that we have this, we have that, because in a form we're seeking respect as well, right? You know, anyone, even in the hood, if you're wearing gold chains and you're walking down the hood, that says something about you, right? It's still money, but it's still like respect. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think respect is a big form, but the one who's pushing it, the culture that's pushing it, is the media, right? It's telling you, you don't know who you are, but if you wear this is what you are, right? Like telling you, like they're telling you what your identity should be, instead of you looking for your own identity. Instead of you finding your own identity, the media pushes that you already have an identity, and it's wear my chain, wear my watch, wear these sneakers, wear whatever, because the white man owns that corporation and we're making them rich, right? So that's what I think. And we fall into it. We fall into it because a lot of us, we want to get out of that that lifestyle where, like we said, poor, or being not respected by certain people or other people. We all want respect, and sometimes we all look for it and get it in the wrong ways. I think we need to go back and start respecting the hard work that our parents did, and learn from it and say, mis padres son, tienen las manos hechas de la tierra. Why don't we go out there so that they don't have to work in the tierra and sembrar and do all this for a system that doesn't care about them, and create a community where they don't have to go through that. That's I think what needs to happen. And that's my opinion. Yeah, it's what I think. I mean, both answers are correct if you ask me. That what the hermana and the hermano said. Identity, we lose our identity, so we seek identity somewhere else, and the media is pushing it. The media pushes it because they're owned by corporations that it's an oppressive system, right? So we have to think for ourselves and know what we're wearing for who. This sweater right here, this one is made out of a Chicana. This is her work. I bought this sweater. I'm proud to wear it, even if it doesn't make me look like I have money. So I think that's what we need to take directions to, in that sense, where are people's clothing? Make it look like a brand, because it is our brand. It is our culture. It's our brand. It doesn't have to be Nike. It doesn't have to say Nike on it. It could say Somos or something, And I think that's where we need to go.
Yeah. You know what? I've spoken on that before, carnal. You know what? Like, we see these youngsters walking around with, like a shirt que dice Jordan. Like, why are we making someone that's already wealthy, más wealthy, when he don't care about brown community? He don't care about his own people's communities. He cares about making a profit. And why are we making them more richer than what they are? Why don't we make our last names richer? You know what I mean? Why don't we make our communities rich? You know what I mean? Wherever you're from, just make that community, that barrio, just make it happen. You know what I mean? Let's bring in some money into that community. Let's make something that we have looked down upon, or how people have looked down upon for so long. Let's make that into something hip something that people can be rocking, right? ¿Por qué no?
Right.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. I love it. Gracias to you guys for sharing your point of view on these on this topic, on these questions. You all have had a great, you know, perspective on all this, and I love how you guys just put in your own experiences and you know, because this is all really about a learning situation, right? We all, like I said, we all come from different backgrounds, but what we share, what we do have in common is that we all want the betterment for the next generation, Latino, raza, right? Brown faces. We all want the betterment for that. We don't want that to die off. You know, we want them to become better because that's what, you know, is expected, right? The next generation should be better than the previous one because the previous one went through bullshit. So now we're supposed to share it so they don't go through it. Not in a way of like making it easier for them because it's not going to be easy, but more like at least opening some eyes and have them be able to like step up the ladder, right? So yeah, so gracias for you guys and gracias to everyone that joined in, everyone that gave us some comments in the comment section. Gracias, and muy buenas noches. So this is another episode of that Brown Experience. Muchas gracias to everyone.
All right.
Thank
Later,
you.
man.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Vivette. Thank you, Brownie.
Gracias.
Later.
Gracias.
Buenas noches.
All right, Brown P. Thank you, my man.
Ándale, man.